Welcome to Superstitions and Traditions, our cute little podcast about history's shenanigans.
And the weird stuff.
And the good stuff sometimes.
Yeah, some of it's good.
Some of it's good.
Some of it's a big fat freaking downer. But interesting.
Downer. Sometimes it's just funny.
Yeah.
Things people come up with. But
yeah.
Anyway, it's a lot of fun.
I agree. Here we are.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what are we doing today?
Today is Am I the Asshole?
No
Historical
way.
edition.
Awesome.
One of my favorites.
I know.
And we are going to talk about Anne Marie Adelaide Lenormand.
That's a lot of name.
She has a lot of name.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Are we just going to jump in?
Yeah.
All right, let's jump in.
Let's do it.
Am I the asshole for opening a bookstore to aid Parisians in discovering their destiny?
Wow. I need to hear more.
Okay. I was orphaned at the age of 5 and sent to... What'd you throw?
I didn't do anything. I don't know what fell.
The sky is falling?
It might be. But it was Stella. You hear her out there barking. She's mad. I don't know. I heard it too. I just didn't touch anything.
Okay.
I promise.
All right. I trust you.
Okay.
All right. I was orphaned at the age of 5 and sent to live at a convent school.
Oh.
I knew right away, even as a child, that the convent life was not for me. When I told the Mother Superior of her termination and replacement at age 7, the nuns knew this probably wasn't the life for me either. Especially a few months later, when my prediction came true. At 14, I left the convent and moved to Paris and secured work in a local shop. I soon opened a bookstore, which was only a front to sell my own books that I had written, and hide my secret money-making career as a fortune teller.
Oh, crazy. All right.
I was famous as fortune teller in the Napoleonic era. Josephine Bonaparte was a client and friend.
Wow.
I saw many famous people, and I was written about often. Some loved me, others hated me. I predicted the fate of many. Several fates were unpleasant. I'm known now, after my death, for my tarot cards. I was taught by gypsies at 14, soon after arriving in Paris, how to read the cards, and I studied under Adelaide, who perfected the art.
Okay.
Though I used many forms of divination.
Okay.
She read palms and
okay,
used the
that
crystals.
was my next question, is what are the many forms?
But she also, just knew things. Like, she didn't need them. It was all for show, basically.
Sure.
And there are tarot cards that are specifically hers that were created after her death.
Really?
That somebody just stuck her name on.
Okay.
The Lenormand cards.
I have never heard of them, but how interesting.
Yes.
Seems that you have.
I had, yes. She studied under Adelaide, who we talked about in the fortune telling. That was his stage name, or
oh yeah, okay.
His name was Jean-Baptiste Alliette.
Okay.
Who developed the interpretation for each of the cards for the purposes of divination.
Okay. Did he have anything to do with how they are read? Okay. When you lay them on top of each other and they mean this.
Yeah, and you cut the cards and you pick, and if it's upside down, it means something to, I don't know, all of that. He did all of that.
Okay, cool.
She was written about often. Alexander Dumas, I believe.
Oh.
Mentioned her
in what story?
In a article.
Oh, okay.
She was written about in papers often. She at this time.
So she wasn't in the Count of Monte Cristo or
no
any of that. Okay.
No, she was in letters in articles, I believe Domes's was, he recounted meeting her in a letter he had written to somebody.
Okay. Well, that's something.
Yeah, there are records of her all over Paris during her time, and people really did either love her or hate her. A politician at the time wrote of her, and I read his letter. It was hilarious. Described her as a short, ugly woman that had to hide in the back of her bookstore because she was so hideous. People couldn't look at her face. I mean, it was.
Oh my!
And I'm thinking, she did not tell you what you wanted to hear.
Nothing favorable came out of her mouth.
Well, shoot.
That's funny. He took it personal.
He did. He took his personal. Josephine Bonaparte, when there are two different stories, two different accounts of how they met. She also wrote a memoir of her relationship with Josephine.
Oh, okay.
One story is they met in jail.
Okay, when
Josephine was Rose.
Yeah.
And during the French Revolution, married to one of the people that were guillotined.
Yeah. So she would have been in jail waiting
for her turn. She
herself.
was expecting to be beheaded.
But she wasn't.
But she wasn't, no.
Nope.
Lenormand was jailed several times because fortune telling was a crime.
Sure.
So when she was found out and made people in power unhappy with their fates,
yeah,
she had to go jail.
Put her away.
Yes. Her recount of how she met Josephine Bonaparte was 2 women came into her shop to have their fortunes read.
Okay.
They tried to disguise themselves as peasants, and she saw right through that. And had told Josephine that...
Is she the one that gave her the big prediction of her life? No, that was when she was a kid.
That was when she was a child still in the Caribbean.
Right.
Or Caribbean, or however you say it. Both ways, but whatever.
Either way.
However, she did confirm that prediction. At this point, she had already been married, had 2 children,
right.
and her husband was dead.
Had she met
was just
Napoleon yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
She was still Rose. Napoleon is the one who changed her name to Josephine.
Gotcha.
But she hadn't met him yet, but she predicted, and that's when she was like, oh, well, I'd heard this before. So she was a neat lady, though. Wrote several, I think 15 books.
Wow.
About divination and different people's lives, and her own memoir and all sorts. But reading the articles and letters other people had written about her had me rolling. Like she was either the greatest thing since sliced bread, and I don't know if there was sliced bread in the 1700s or not. Or
only once you sliced it yourself.
Maybe. Was the devil. And some of them went into like physical descriptions of her, and she was beautiful or she was hideously ugly. She was
Nothing
loved
matched.
or hated. Nothing matched.
Gotcha.
But so she was orphaned at the age of 5, and there's 2 different stories about that.
Okay.
One was her father died first, mother remarried and passed away, and stepfather financially supported these children, but after he remarried, they wanted a family of their own, so he sent them to convents and military schools.
Oh.
And then the other story is mom died first, dad died second, remarried, and stepmom. Either way, the kids were taken care of financially. And when she knew she needed to leave the convent, she reached out to her step-parents and said, can you help me get out of here? And they helped find her a job in Paris. And she met a band of gypsies at some point around the same time she gets to Paris.
Sounds like she gets around.
Uh-huh.
My goodness.
I don't know. It was just just a weird little
collection of
things.
histories.
So 14, she did this for 20 or 30 years, reading fortunes in the back room in a secret room.
Oh, yes.
Everybody described you walked into this bookshop and you were kind of like vetted by the workers and doorman and little shopkeeper or whatever.
Right.
And they decided if you got to meet the fortune teller or not.
Sure.
And then some people have her doing her own vetting, but
sure.
You walked into this little anteroom.
What kind of fortune teller is she if she can't tell who she should?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Josephine Bonaparte loved her. Napoleon was not a fan.
I bet not.
She became, I can't remember the name of the guy who wrote the scathing, the worst of the worst, but it was, I wish I could, and I can't. I'm not going to be able to find it fast, but it was hilarious. She became wealthy, super wealthy with her fortune telling. At the time she died in the 1700s, had amassed a fortune of 500,000 francs, which would be like a billionaire now.
Yeah.
She had no children of her own to pass it on to, and so she left it to her nephew. Her nephew was very unhappy about the way she earned her money because it was devil, occult, witchcraft, whatever. It was evil.
Yeah.
So after she died and he gets all the stuff, he has it all burned.
He burns her money?
Not her money.
Okay.
He burns all of her...
He kept the money, I assume.
I'm assuming.
Okay, so he kept her dirty money.
Right, but not her divination stuff and books and letters and all of this other stuff that she had kept.
What a lost opportunity.
I know. I know it. The cards that are accredited to her was a 36 card deck, which is a smaller than normal because the typical tarot deck is 72 cards.
Oh, really?
And it was known as Petite Lenormand. And it was created after her passing. So they weren't actually her cards.
Just somebody played on her name.
They just played on her name because she was famous. And she was like the best of the best at fortune telling. So they used her name and made these cartomancy decks and made their own millions, I'm sure.
Sounds like it.
They are still popular today and still used today. The oldest surviving deck is from the late 1700s and is in a museum in London, the British Museum in London.
Wow.
So you can still go see them, even though they were not hers.
But you can see them.
But you can see them, and they have her name.
Of course. But they're not hers.
I know. She had a whole lot of fame. And the thing that most people associate with her wasn't hers. I mean, during the Napoleonic era in France, everybody knew who she was and what she did. And now she's remembered for cards she had nothing to do with.
Right.
She was jailed several times.
For bad predictions or for just predicting, period?
For predicting, period. But I'm sure if she had said things they wanted to hear, she probably wouldn't
have been locked up.
Gone to jail.
Right.
She started her literary career. Well, she started her little bookstore and was selling books. started her own literary career in 1814, and then used her bookstore primarily to sell her own books.
Whatever it takes.
I mean, she was already well known at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But the books that she published memoirs of people and her own stories of dealings with people.
Oh.
And that was quite controversial.
I'll bet so.
People were unhappy with her sharing their secrets, including Hortense, Josephine Bonaparte's daughter, was very unhappy with the things she had written about her mother.
What kind of things did she write about her mother?
The meeting, and she didn't really want her mom associated with fortune telling.
Sure.
So there was that. She died in Paris. Her nephew was a devout Catholic.
Oh, that's why he
yeah.
burned everything but kept her money.
Yeah, he took only the money and burnt everything, all of her possessions, everything else that she had left behind.
What a little hypocrite.
I know.
He shouldn't have kept the money.
Exactly.
You don't get to pick and choose what you're holy about.
Nope. I forgot about that. The first time she was jailed by the revolution because they believed she had conspired to bust Marie Antoinette out of jail.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Even though she didn't. And that came from the queen's like bestie. Her dearest confidant was one of her early clients. So it was just by association that they jailed her.
Mm-hmm.
And then her 2 or 3 arrests after that was for illegal fortune telling.
How does one legally tell fortunes?
You don't at this time in Paris.
That's the problem.
They were bothered, especially the revolution, when she was jailed for conspiracy, because she went in there unfrightened and was just like, yeah, whatever, I'm here for a little vacation. And it really annoyed them that she wasn't terrified like they wanted her to be.
Of course.
But, she could see the future, so she knew she was going home in a minute.
Yep.
But anyway, she would never, ever have been nearly as famous as she was had she not formed that bond with Josephine Bonaparte.
Yeah.
Her grave is still decorated with flowers and ribbons to this day in Paris. People still visit her and remember her. Probably not the people buried next to her, but I guess she still gets flowers, so yay for her.
Yay. Well, she was famous.
She was famous.
So, or infamous.
Or infamous, depending on how you want to look at it.
Whichever way you want to look at it.
Mm-hmm. But she swore up and down that the techniques she used for divination were simply for show.
Mm-hmm. Entertainment value only.
That what she knew because she just knew.
She just knew. Instinct.
Intuition. And intuition. I don't know. She was the best. I was up until like 2:00 in the morning one night reading the things people were writing about this woman, and it cracked me up.
Right.
Letters and articles, and I would love to get my hands on one of her books, especially the one she wrote about Josephine. But it was like 600 pages.
Oh my.
And then, things like that, and you wonder how much of it is true. And she did I don't know how true it is or not, but one of the reasons they think that Napoleon Bonaparte distrusted her so much is because she had told Josephine, had predicted the end of their marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't like that, even though their marriage was ended because she couldn't have children.
Right.
And I think she was like 7 or 8 years older than him.
Mm-hmm.
And lied on the marriage license to make herself younger and him older. But his family was real unhappy, and then she couldn't have children. And so his family convinced him to leave her, and they had the marriage annulled. And it all came true, and it all happened. But he was still unhappy about it.
Right. It's your fault.
You shouldn't have
You
told
made
her
this
that.
happen.
That's not nice.
All your fault
Exactly.
for knowing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as though she made it up.
No. She was told by something. That is the story of Marie and Adelaide Lenormand.
Okay.
Good times.
Interesting. Yes.
Interesting character. Wasn't bothered by jail.
No.
See, she enjoyed her night in county.
Yeah, she did. I knew you were going to say that.
Several
you may
times.
enjoy yours.
I don't
You
think I
will-
can go to jail for fortune telling, though.
Well, I don't know. Depends on how interesting you make it. If you convince somebody to go knock over a bank, maybe you are, telling them they're going to get away with it. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can come up with.
It technically wouldn't be for fortune telling, though. It would be for conspiracy.
Either way. Night in
'Cause-
county.
Yeah, night
At
in
least
county
one.
is a night in county, and she seemed to enjoy her. She was not bothered by it at all. It's like, whatever, this is where I'm sleeping tonight. And maybe tomorrow night.
Maybe tomorrow
In a couple
night.
of nights.
I'll get out of here, though.
You're going to let me walk out of here. And they were like, no, we're not. Off with your head. And she kept her head. In
That's
county.
Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, yeah. It was also the French. They
Well,
really
yeah.
like to off with people's heads, especially at this point in time during the French Revolution.
Weren't they done often with your head at this point?
Do what?
Weren't they done often with your head at this point? They were
No, this
still-
is the French Revolution. This is when it kind of started.
Oh,
this
I thought
is-
we were after.
Uh-uh.
Okay.
No.
Well, maybe she ought to be careful running her mouth.
Yeah,
She's gonna get
her-
her head cut off. She won't just have a night in county.
True.
She'll have a night in the morgue.
Her life coincided with
Okay.
Marie Antoinette being queen. That was one of the... Because Marie Antoinette's...
Empress.
Yes. Besties was a client of hers, and so then she had to go to jail for that.
Of course.
And they offed her head. The French Revolution, opposing the French Revolution, a lot of people lost their heads for that. They did not want to be opposed.
No.
And you can't put somebody back in
No, you can't put it back together.
power when you off with their head.
Yeah. You can't reattach. It is not a Barbie doll.
Interestingly, funeral mass that we talked about. Madame Tussaud, the
Wax museum.
wax museum lady. This is how she started. During the French Revolution, she made funerary masks for the beheaded victims of the French Revolution. And it led to wax museums all over the world.
Okay. Interesting how we get our starts.
I know. Let me make a mask of that severed head right there.
Yeah.
And now look, 250 years later, everybody knows her name.
Her wax museums
Her
are
wax
everywhere.
museums are everywhere. I think there's one in Branson even,
There might
which
be.
is not too far from us.
No, I just got back.
You did. Me too.
You did a little bit before me. Yep.
So anyway, that is the story of Marie and Adelaide Lenormand. An interesting character,
To say the least.
to say the least. Read
Did
her
not lose
books.
her head in the guillotine.
She did not. She knew she wouldn't.
Yep.
Because she could tell the future.
Yeah.
Nuns don't like it when you tell them the future.
They don't.
When you are 7 years old.
Right. Got you.
7 years later, you are running your own business in Paris. Out of that convent.
Of course.
14.
Interesting. Yeah.
I don't know. It just, that seems starting life at 14. And it was a normal thing then.
I guess so. Not now, though.
Not now.
No.
Dude.
Oh, my
I'm
gosh.
41 and still haven't started my life right yet. Figuring things out.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it. Let us know if you think she was the asshole or not. What do you think?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I think she's just living life.
Yeah. Yeah, she's definitely living life. And I guess, I don't know, maybe she was. It depends on, I need to call her
Okay.
and find out what she has to say about my life before I decide if she's the asshole or not.
Okay.
I am not holding a seance.
Are you not?
Mm-mm.
You
No.
can borrow my Ouija board.
No, thank you.
You could.
Mm-mm.
I would lend it
Scary.
to you. No,
That's
it's
scary. I'm scared of that. And I don't want to know the future. So
No.
I'm going to hold off on
Okay. All right.
maybe after I die and meet her and hear what she has to say.
Just think of all the information you could have right now, though, and how beneficial that would be.
I don't think that
After
would be
you're dead,
beneficial.
why would you want to know?
I don't think you can, if you know the future, I don't think you can live a beneficial life. If you know what's coming.
So they say.
I just don't see how that works.
No.
Then you're always, I don't know, you're not really living if you know what's going to happen. You're just going through the motions then. And I'm not going to let some pattern of the stars determine what I do with my life.
Okay, if you want to wing it, then you go ahead.
I want to wing it. Yeah, I just want to wing it.
Okay,
All right.
that'll work.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I have your blessing.
you do.
Okay.
All right. Let's get out of
All
here.
right. Let's get out of here. Thank you for watching. Come back and see us
Yes.
for all of our fun.
Mm-hmm.
She loves you.
I do.
I have fondness.
She does.